Hi, I'm Ray.
And I'm Steph.
And this is the SciComm Hotline,
where we gossip about all the cringe and exciting ways science is communicated in real life.
So let's bring the drama.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
I love like how we like pretend like this is the first time we're saying hi to each other. We haven't talked in the past.
I was just thinking of just like I deleted our previous take and I should have kept it because we had like a cute little banter. And I don't know if we can recreate it, but Ray hasn't watched The Notebook, and
I have not
judged
watched
her for it.
No, I thought it's Keira Knightley. It's not.
No, it's Rachel McAdams.
Which
She's
one is
such a babe?
Oh, I don't
Keira
think
Knightley's the girl from the
the
Pirates
same.
of the Caribbean.
I promise. I don't think all white women are the same.
I know those are like very drastically different types of white women too.
Are they?
Yeah, Keira Knightley and Rachel
No,
McAdams.
you're right. You're right.
It'll be different if it was like Sandra Bullock, Jennifer, what's her name? Sandra Bullock. It's like
Jennifer.
Julia Roberts,
Uh-huh.
Sandra Bullock, Jennifer. I think Jennifer Love Hewitt. They're all like brunettes, like beautiful brunettes that like play similar roles in movies that people tend to get them all three mixed up.
Keira Knightley and Rachel McAdams are both like dark-haired and kind of like overall similar too. And again,
I guess so in the sense of like they play like romantic leads, but Keira Knightley just has like a very protruding chin.
Right. She stands out.
Yeah. She's unique.
Okay. I'll take it. I will. Okay. I know I should watch it. I don't want to cry, man.
But it's a good cry. Sometimes you just need those movies where just like, I remember watching, I forgot the movie. It's called like Lion. And it's like about like these orphanage boys. Mm-hmm. And I just want to watch it and like cry. It was a good cry movie. Okay. But anyways, today's episode, we're going to be talking about AI and SciComm and just like in our productivity in our profession. Do we need it? What do we feel about it? But before we get to that, a little tangent in terms of what Ray and I have been hating on this week.
Hi all, I'm Ray here, editing. Just came to say we did not talk about AI. We took the whole time talking about comedy and got way too deep into the weeds. And second, if you're wondering why we're not talking about the news and world events, it's because this episode was recorded weeks ago. So that's that. Yep, enjoy the episode. Okay, love you, bye.
Ray, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I saw a post on Instagram and I didn't hate on what they were like feeling or saying. It was more about like the conversation around it. So I recently watched The Roses. It's not really a spoiler because like The Roses has a very famous like plot line. So I wouldn't say don't skip it, but if you want to skip it because you don't want detailed spoilers, sure. And Olivia Colman, who's like, it's like a husband and wife, they love and hate each other and they're gonna have this like massive fight. And Olivia Colman is allergic and she has one of those like the EpiPens. And at some point in the movie towards the end where they're having like all this like really massive fight, Benedict Cumberbatch, the husband who wants like her to sign something very important or do something very important, gives her the thing that she's allergic to. And then is like, sign or I will not give you the EpiPen. And it's like very intense. And I felt like it was like point where like this lighthearted-ish like banter and hate turns into, oh, he's willing to kill me. So it's actually, I think, very heavy scene and everything changes after that. And the post was like from an allergy society. I can't remember which one. And they said something along the line of like, we are so disappointed in this film for making light of this. Like, I think the actors and the producers and everyone should apologize. This is not right. This is not a thing to like make like a comedy about, and everything. And then there was like comments also, like a big part of it was like, yeah, I can't believe like they did that. They should apologize. Like these people do anything. And then there were like people that were like, well, it is a dark comedy and I don't think they made light of it. I think they were literally saying he wanted to kill her by doing that. And I was just mad and annoyed at the fact that first of all, like how much comedy specifically is being attacked for a lot of things, because
Yeah.
comedy is also a form of talking about the things that are heavy to talk about and are important and are difficult to talk about. So when you say something as comedy, it doesn't mean that you're making light of it necessarily. And a lot of like instances, it means this is so heavy that we need to put it in context of comedy to be able to like discuss and open these kind of things. And also that that was just my opinion, not what the movie was doing. They were not
Yeah.
making light of this. They were not turning it
They're
to
not making fun of people with allergies.
right. Like they were not. It wasn't the butt of the joke. It was actually something to say like this man was like willing to do that to his wife. That's how bad this relationship is. So I have a moment of hate, which I think honestly most people have, with the way we're talking about the things we are reacting to. And to be
Mhm.
fair, we have a whole podcast about hating about the things we consume. So who am I to get
Yeah, for sure. I think similar note, a similar hate, different context was I'm a jujitsu girly. If you guys don't know that, I do jujitsu.
love
And
it?
so my husband and I were watching a jujitsu tournament that happened this past weekend, or maybe 2 weekends ago at this point. But I love to watch the female grapplers because it's just like so much more intense. It's just badass, and I can like I feel like I'm like moving with them, like I'm like working, like fighting with them.
Right.
But in the semifinals, it was a very popular woman fighter, just turned 18, but she's known for like wearing like one piece unitards or gi rashes or rash guard, and as well as like wearing her hair in pigtails. But she has like a lot of hair. I wish I had that hair, but she has a lot of hair. And then the other fighter, a lot more petite, an older woman, but they're both in the same weight class. They both are very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And in jujitsu, you're wrestling, you're on the floor. Like for women, especially with women with long hair, you got to have your hair. Like some women fighters braid their hair. Some women just wear buns, but you want to be out the way. But the teenage fighter had her hair in pigtails. And so while they were grappling in the first couple of rounds, like the woman that was pinned down, she's not so much older, but anyways, the other woman fighter was having to like move her hair in order to like grab and get grips on the teenager. And so it got to the point where like in the third round, the referee had to tell the teenager to like, hey, you need to put your pigtails into just one ponytail because you're one, like it's making it harder for the other player. And then two, like it's hard for the judges to see when your hair is like obstructing the view.
Right.
So that was like the encounter. So scrolling, I have, because I love jujitsu, I get it on my feed. And there was these two guys who like the belts that you wear in like gis, he had them like tied around his head to make it look like he had like two big ass ponytails. And so it's just like, what an exciting fight. And then so he's like dangling the gi over the other player, and it's almost like a car wash with like the gi wraps like just hitting the person's face, and the person's just like skewing away like, oh my god. So I saw that and I cracked up because I'm like, no, that was literally what happened.
Right.
And as someone who loves to read comments, and comments are their own culture. Like you were mentioning before with like where discussions happen, that's where like fires can set flames, or there can be a unifying sentiment, or there can be like very interesting discourse.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, everyone in the comments just like, oh my god, like, yeah, this is so funny, like that was exactly it. But then one person commented, was just like, this grappler is 18 years old and super talented, and I'm just so disappointed that they're making fun of her. And I like literally like rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh brother, this guy stinks, because it's just like but then like the person who made the video commented, was just like, I wasn't making fun of her talents, like I'm just making light of the situation of just like, this is obviously a joke that we're doing. Right. If you find this problematic, like don't engage and keep scrolling. And so it just made me like roll my eyes, because it's just like, it's obviously a fucking joke. Like, yeah, you're like, I don't know. So talking with Ray, we're like, okay, with comedy, there is jokes that don't land well. It's like we're either punching down,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're part of that community, you can make fun of your own community. But if you're not part of that community, then you can't.
Right.
So it's just like, this is another jujitsu person in their jujitsu gym, like just making fun and poking fun. It wasn't in a way of like, in my opinion, of bashing the woman for being a woman or like
Mhm.
bashing her for her talents. It's just like, her hair was obviously in the fucking way.
Right.
So
Right.
it's funny that they made fun of it with tying, gi belts around their head.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I wonder, it's more about, are we looking to be offended?
Mm-hmm,
That's just it.
mm-hmm.
Like, are we looking to be offended? Are we going into all these like scenarios and jokes and comedies and stuff with the intention to find something that is offensive, or like interpreting things in like the ways that they were not intended, or have been like having the impact that you think they are? Like, I wonder,
Mhm.
it's also like that one person like thinks that it's having this like very negative impact on people or teenagers or anything, and that might not at all be the impact. So yeah, just a lot of thoughts on how
Yeah,
we
I
look
think it.
at comedy.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it kind of makes me think of, I've seen this sentiment said a lot where, like, if someone is doing like a cooking recipe and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be using like this can of peas for my recipe," and then someone in the comments just like, "But I'm allergic to peas," and it's just like, then
Right.
don't fucking use peas. But I'm allergic to pineapples, or what about mangoes? And it's just like, okay, but we're not even talking about that right now. We're talking about just using peas for this dish. And if you're allergic to it, then don't use it. So it's like the same thing with like with your allergy idea, not idea, but example of just like, they're not making fun of people with allergies. This is like
Mhm.
a point in the movie to drive the narrative forward,
Right.
and yeah, to reveal the character flaw of the husband, of the lengths that they would go to harm this person
Right.
by taking advantage of one of their weaknesses.
Vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah, vulnerabilities. And
Yeah.
so, but okay, oh man, I feel like we're going too far into a tangent, but really quick, this makes me think of the Sydney Sweeney debacle. Were you deep into that?
Oh.
Because, okay, I know we're supposed to talk about AI, but let me just talk about this real quick, because that was something really interesting.
Uh-huh.
Because this is not, maybe I don't know if it is about SciComm, but it is about marketing. But anyways,
Yeah.
so everyone's most likely familiar with this Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad where she was saying like, the my jeans are blue, like my jeans are da da da, and it's like a double meaning of jeans for the pants that you wear versus like jeans genetic. And this was received very controversially.
Right.
And so I remember going down rabbit holes and kind of seeing like multiple takes, but one of the biggest takes was just like, they're promoting eugenics. They're promoting, like, we have this blonde woman with blue eyes saying that her genes are better than other people's genes, especially in a time like now where, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Uh-huh.
But then so that's like the discourse that I'm seeing.
Right.
But then there is a marketing professional that made a video about this. And it's just like, actually, this video is playing on a video that was an ad that happened in the 80s with another famous young actress. She was very young. I forgot her name, like Brooke Shields.
Mm-hmm.
And how she was in a Calvin Klein ad, similar thing of just like, my genes are this, or my genes are that, or nothing can get in between my genes. But Brooke was over sexualized as a young actress. And this ad was very like hyper sexualizing her when she was probably like 15, not even 18, like she's super young in this ad. So this marketing professional was just like, where American Eagle went super wrong is the fact that they're referencing this ad that happened in the 80s that was already problematic for over sexualizing a young adult.
Right.
then they use that ad into not in today's context without even considering the context of how it's going to be perceived in our current political and cultural climate.
Right.
So it wasn't, so that's where I felt like, at least for me personally, I don't believe that American Eagle was purposefully making an ad about eugenics, about like white people being superior, but they did for sure fail on not understanding how this will be received and the repurposing an ad that was already problematic.
Right.
So I
Right.
feel like there is validity to the scrutiny, but then what I feel like when the fire engulfed of everyone saying that this is eugenics, I'm like, okay, does that pose a question? Like, are we trying to be like, are we making a problem that wasn't necessarily the problem to happen? I don't know if I'm
Right.
posing that question
Actually,
correctly.
there was like a documentary that came out like a few years ago about Brooke Shield, with this was a big part of that documentary. So it is not even something that is like forgotten. It's a part of like the discourse and all of that. So it's so interesting that you say that, because oh no, is this what we're now talking about? I guess it is for a bit.
I guess so. Okay, keep going.
So you just talked about, in this case, they didn't consider the consequences of the impact of this, right? And then we talked about comedy, where a lot of times the intention is not wrong or evil or anything. And then the impact on people could be very different, right? On what your intention was. So what happens in a case where your audience is also hypersensitive about a certain issue, right? So like for the allergy community, maybe like that was a sensitivity, which is why the reaction was like, everyone was like, yes, this is not what we wanted. But I also don't know if these are the more vocal people. So if you talk to most people that have some sort of allergies, we'd be like, that is not how I perceive that. But it's usually the people that have like more stronger feelings. They're the ones that vocalize. So you have this bias of thinking that like, oh, everyone is thinking like that. But it's like, no, actually, most people don't think this was offensive, or don't think that, or don't think this person was racist or being mean to this girl. It's just that the people that voiced it were the people that have strong feelings. So it's just like, there's all these questions of, do you sometimes make a statement because you think like, I think it's important, I'm going to say it out loud, no matter what the impact is? Or you say, depending on my audience, I'm going to make that decision differently. Or as you see the impact, you're like, whose voice is this? Is it the loudest? Is it the general public? Is it like all the people that are in that community? It just comes with so many questions. I don't have any answers or any points. It's just raising a bunch of questions.
Yeah, because I guess with the allergy one, it was like a whole allergy institute or organization that like made a stand.
Right.
But it is like, I forgot what video that I saw that it's just like, 1/4 of our population has like allergies. And so yeah, I guess it's just like hard because like with social media, it does make it feel like the most vocal ones are the loudest, when it doesn't really reflect the beliefs or the feelings or sentiments of like the greater population.
Right.
And that can be said for like a lot of things.
Right. As you scroll down, and there's actually like so many more like neutral stuff, and I was like, I have allergies, and this is not at all what I thought, or like I literally use like an EpiPen, and like at no point I thought like anyone was making fun of me. But like these were the ones that didn't have as many conversations or anything around them. So
anyways, so that was interesting. Maybe we should have I don't know what other side, like what topic we can branch this off of in terms of comedy. And
I mean, comedy on its own is just like such an interesting topic. You have I think there's like two things to connect to like science communication. What is generally like humor, which I think we should have a whole episode talking about humor. There's a lot of like work done by like Sarah Yo about humor. It is very controversial sometimes for scientists to use it, because sometimes people might be like, oh, I'm a scientist, if I use humor, people are going to see me as less competent. But there's a lot of like good research that talks about like, no, depending on like what kind of jokes you make, or like if you're mean to other people, or if you're condescending, like, yeah, like it's going to affect like how people trust you. But like there's all these other kind of humor that actually helps with trust and competence and everything. So there's like that side of humor that like we should definitely have a session on. But then there's comedy as a form of like freedom of speech. And
Mhm.
I feel very differently about how we react to comedy because I come from a country where comedy is like criminalized. Like people
Mm.
literally go to jail for it. People literally have to pay massive, insane consequences, like death, like all sorts of things. So there's something for me which is about telling someone like I think their comedy is stupid or shit or anything versus like demanding heavy consequences for that person or shutting down comedy in a way that a lot of comedians feel afraid of
Mhm.
saying things. So I have respect for comedy as an art form. That's why when criticizing it, I think I do it a little differently. And I can absolutely respect and understand people that have a different stance about different forms of comedy than me. It's just that our contexts are very different because
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
I came from, because of what I've seen. Like comedy is one of like the most important frontiers of resistance to, you
Mhm.
know, theocracy or any form of puritanism, and I really respect that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, because yeah, again, we can go down we can go down a rabbit hole with this because this brings up a lot of like non-SciComm things. But anyways, should we talk about AI or should
Sure.
we?
But now I'm like, what kind of non-SciComm thing does it bring up that?
Ah, well, I guess because like yeah, I consume a lot of comedy.
Hmm.
I watch a lot of stuff that's funny, and I'm jealous of people who are funny. Um, and yeah, and I think it is, but comedy has totally changed from like when we grown, like how we grown up, at least in the United States, to like now. So like
Hmm.
90s comedy, like super racist, super misogynistic, like super all of the things, but we like, we laughed about it or whatever. And then now we're in a maybe before the Trump times, comedy was a little bit more not politically correct, but it's just like, okay, what is punching down and then
Right.
what is like punching within our own community. So like I'm not um I'm not black, so I'm not going to make jokes about black people.
Mhm.
But when I watch like other Latinos making like references about like growing up Latino, it's just like,
Mhm.
okay, I can laugh about that. They can make fun of the
Right.
moms or how moms react and whatever because like that's like a unified lived experience.
Right. Right. Right.
And it makes me think of like, I watch SNL, so they always try to bring like Lauren Michaels will try to bring on um SNL is also has grown in different ways as well. But
Mhm.
like they're best friends with like Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle was like a comedian that like I really found funny as fuck. But then
Mhm.
he talks about the queer community or trans people, and that's when people are just like, like
Mhm.
you are overstepping and
Mhm.
being super fucking transphobic.
Mhm.
Um, and but he's like he doesn't give a fuck. He's been canceled so many times. He's always going to be canceled. Nothing's going to affect him career wise.
Mhm.
So he can continue to get away with it. But then that comes up with that comes with the discourse of just like, why do we still allow this type of comedy to happen versus like comedy is a way that we can have these like tough conversations and kind of call out people through humor, um, and can like bring up questions that kind of call this out, but it's at the expense of like talking shit about another group that you're not a part of. And so yeah, I think it's just like that level of like taste. Because there's other comedians that were brought on SNL that were like opening that kind of did like some political humor as well. That you like the crowd was just like not
Uh,
having it. So it's like really hard because so not really hard. Like again, I'm like not trying to excuse any any which way, but is there like is yeah like yeah what is that line and how
right.
can you toe that line
Right.
and then what is what but then does that ostracize of like what we can think as funny, because then someone is always going to be in the comments of just like another example, really quick story that I saw on TikTok was like this woman, it's a brother and sister. She's a caretaker for the brother. The brother's disabled in a wheelchair. This probably reveals my bad character and my bad sense of humor. But she's like, they're walking around different rooms, and she's like she puts a pillow over her brother's face, like,
Uh-huh.
oh, just kidding, like pretending to kill him, which is pretty bad when you think about it. But for some reason, it was funny because it seems like the brother was like playing along, even though
Mhm.
the brother was playing along. But then someone in the comments were just like, you're giving people a reason to kill other disabled people when
Oh,
they don't like want to be caretakers or something like that. And it's just like, it's a, like, so then other people are like, I'm disabled and I found this funny. Like, like,
mhm.
what are you talking about? So it's just like there's always those examples of extremes of like people misinterpreting it, or taking the interpretation like way too far, versus like, okay, like if this is a caretaker and a disabled person and they're both in on the joke, then
Right,
like, is that, that joke should be acceptable. I don't know.
right.
Anyways.
So, like, what is like, how do you respect the autonomy of the person that decided to share a joke, right? Like,
Hmm.
I have shared jokes about like being an Iranian, and
Hmm.
I had people like push back in ways of like, oh, you can't say that. You can't. And I'm like, no, I can't say that. Like,
Hmm.
I was in it. I'm in it. I can make jokes about it. And like, I honestly was just like so offended that like someone was like, you can't make jokes about it. This is inappropriate. And I was like, I can make jokes about me, my culture, my nationality, all of that kind of stuff. And you who have not experienced life through my like everything that I had and how I grew up and the government, everything, like you cannot tell me that I can't make jokes about this. You can. It doesn't mean I'm going to respect it. It doesn't mean I'm going to accept it. Um so there is something about what do you do to the autonomy of the person that makes the jokes, brings the stories and all of that when you decide for them that you cannot make jokes about your experience, what you're going through. You can't put that out. You can react to it. Like it is obviously you're right. I think this is all a part of like comedy and free speech that you can do things and say things and also see the consequences. But I also do think, despite it being about free speech, it's kind of about like pause for a moment before making a comment or anything or feeling like, oh, like something is wrong. I have to say something. Like, is it wrong? Or is this like your perception of this person shouldn't say that? Is that the best way, even if you think it's wrong, like to kind of fight it? It's kind of like I told you about like the Washington Post like column thing
You
where
haven't
there was like some,
shared
oh right, there
like
was like a
the
someone like gives advice, people like submit stuff, and I think I can't remember this like very well, so don't hold me to it. But it was something along the line of someone was like, I had a friend who made a racist joke. What do I do? And I think she was kind of like, oh, you just tell them that this is not funny. It's a racist joke. If you need to stop being friends with them, stop being friends with them. And I'm like, where in the world, like in the communication expertise, is this a good way to kind of like get your friend to like not be racist or not make racist jokes? Like you're attacking
like
their
how do you, yeah, like how do you call, like there's the versus like calling out versus like calling in, like some of
right,
the
right, right, right.
social media
Like
people
I'm
will say.
sure if you say it like that, you're attacking their identity. They'll probably stop being friends with you because they're like, whoa, I'm not racist, da 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 da, all this conversation. So yeah, if this is a lot for you, if this is a bad friend, you don't want to be friends with them, sure. But if this is something that you want to have a conversation around, or you actually want them to see their points or anything, attacking their identity is never going to help, right? So like, what are the other ways you could do that? So I think maybe my problem is more about the ways we address, the ways we comment. Like, if you're commenting, it means you want to change something for the better. And our strategy, so that all of that comes to the science communication part of the strategies we're using to address the things that we think are wrong, whether they're actually wrong or not, are just such unhelpful strategies so many times and backfire so many times. Like every time you see something that you don't like and you're like, you stupid, this thing, you're mean, you're a horrible person, you're attacking their identity, you're only pushing that creator further back to, this is like me when I make my Iranian joke and someone is like, oh, that's kind of like, Iranophobic or whatever. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like my brain immediately goes to like, this person doesn't understand like all the justifications of why they're wrong. So even if I was wrong, what was another way this person could have called me out about my joke? Maybe
Like we're
that's
over
most-
policing each other. We're over policing each other.
we're over policing and we don't know how to communicate about things that we believe are wrong, right? So maybe that's the whole thing about comedy. Comedy is just so subjective. So you and I can talk about whatever we want, whatever post we saw, and whatever opinions we have. We could be easily wrong or right because comedy is so subjective, and the decisions we make for what is right or wrong or good or bad are also so subjective. Ethics, morality, these are all the things that evolve and move back and forth and everything. But maybe the universal thing that we could think about is, if I think something is wrong, what is an effective way and an empathetic way to call it out or to address it? And I'm saying all of that with a caveat that you and I just talked about a lot of things that we disagree with, that I hope we do it empathetically, but a lot of times we fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I for sure wasn't empathetic to the guy that was saying for the jiu-jitsu comment.
Right.
But I guess for like so for the allergy.
But you didn't respond to them. You didn't respond.
I didn't.
And you didn't.
I didn't, but no, for sure. I like rolled my eyes internally and just moved on, which I think is also like part of like the internet drama of like, if you disagree with something, you don't have to engage.
Right.
But people choose to engage and to choose to voice their disappointment.
Right.
And but then it also is just like the internet also gives us the platform for like everyone's not I guess justified to express their opinion, no matter where it falls. Or, so it's just like that, like everyone has an asshole, like, like everyone has an opinion, like doesn't mean that everyone wants to like see it or hear it.
Oh my God. Have
you never heard that? No. But I think, with comedy, I think it's just hard because like all the things you mentioned, and because like comedy is so like culture based and there's always context and like subcontext and like inside jokes within inside jokes.
Right.
So it creates like a language barrier in a sense. Yeah, I guess like I guess we can be empathetic. So like it's like try to like, how do you be empathetic where people are coming from, and then making sure whoever is the one vocalizing their disappointment, are they personally a part of that community that's being represented in this comedy or not? Because in that, I feel like that's where if we speak on others' behalf, where like that just instigates a little bit more.
Okay, I have thoughts on this. One of my main thoughts is each community has diversity within it. And one of the things that sometimes worries me is when, let's say there's a joke, right? And then someone is like, I'm from this community and I say this is wrong. And then people are like, well, this person is with this community and they said it's wrong, so it's wrong. And then someone else comes from that community that are like, this community is diverse and we have opinions. I actually don't think like that person. So just because one of us said that, not all of us said that. It's like every time like someone, I'm going to keep using the Iranian examples because like that's like a community that I could talk about. But if someone is like, oh, like there was like someone that told me I should never say Iranian, you're Persian. And I was like, so I always say Persian now. And I'm like, oh, that's like actually, we have like a variety of opinions. Some people are like, yeah, call me Persian. Some people are like, call me Iranian. Some people are like, I really don't care. It makes no difference to me. So just because like one person who either is from Iran or Iranian heritage said that, it doesn't mean the whole community thinks that. And I think that's the same thing with jokes, where it's like, oh, but I knew someone from here that was like, this is super offensive, right? And it's kind of like, well, yeah, and there are other people that have different opinions because jokes are subjective. right?
Yeah.
And I
So I
do,
guess
mm,
go ahead, keep going.
and I do think like based on like era and times and things like that, there are ones that we could be like, this is outrageous. Like you cannot under any circumstances say that. But if, like, yeah, I don't know, it's just a spectrum.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because it's like, okay, comedy used in the form of free speech versus comedy used in hate speech, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So that's where, like, this is just my opinion. And it's, but it's just like, yeah, but you're also like actively harming or like adding stereotypes or, like punching down or using your platform to just kind of like harness more hate through comedy. I think
Mhm.
that's where we need to have the boundaries and guardrails, rather than the feeling that we have to over censor ourselves because we're afraid that anybody can be offended for what we said, even if those like, because they won't understand the context or the nuance or like the subculture or the subcontext of like the joke or the comedy.
Right.
So,
And I would
um,
say even within that, so like hate speech, I think I am not an expert in any of these, so everyone should like grace, show us grace. Hate speech still goes under free speech, correct? Like free speech could be good, could be bad, could be anything. It's just that you are free to say whatever you want to say without
yeah,
maybe like legal consequences. Like we're not gonna like put you in prison for it. However, that doesn't mean without consequences.
yeah, without like
I think
social
right,
consequences.
right. And I think there is something to speech being allowed to happen without you fearing that I'm gonna go to prison for saying something versus if it's like really bad, I could like not be able to like do this anymore. I lose all my audience because like everyone agrees this is horrible. Or my girlfriend's gonna break up with me and I'm not gonna get promotion and I'm gonna get this da 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 da. And the reason why I think, and again, context. I come from a theocracy. I put everything in the context of dictatorship, right? When you put speech under something that is like legal or illegal, it is always the people that are in power that decide what is hate speech or what is bad speech or what is a speech that they could um, have legal consequences for, right? So, like in Iran, like people can say something very lighthearted, but they will put like like, oh, you're causing like corruption in the world or something like that, so you go to prison. So I'm always like very wary of things having legal consequences or like consequences that go beyond the society deciding we don't want this, we don't want you, we're not gonna go to your talk, we're not gonna, it doesn't mean I'm gonna like destroy your like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's really hard for me to
man.
articulate it.
Yeah, I recently finished reading slash audio listening to a book called Cultish.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have a podcast about it and kind of like lead the discussion because it makes me kind of think about this book was talking about how like language really is kind of like the catapult, or not the catapult, but it really ties in how we form groups, how we form our identities, and how they can kind of be taken advantage of to take advantage of other people. And so thinking of like, and the way that you can consider this author, the way she said that she can consider something as cultish when using language is that there's an in group and there's an out group. So like you have language that only people within the group like knows and uses, whether like they have not inside jokes, but it's just kind of like jargon, pretty much like internal jargon that this in community uses. But then they also have language within their community for people that are not in their community to pose for the out group. So when we think about comedy, of when it works and when it doesn't work, and even thinking about the context of you, when you're like, okay, you're looking through the lens of dictatorship. So like in our previous, we have always bringing it into politics, but we have like the culture wars, you know, in terms of like, there was a moment where we were very sensitive and hyper aware of how marginalized folks were being represented in media, being talked about, being like the jokes, the butt of jokes or whatever. And then we try to shift to focusing more on having more autonomy, freedom of expression, and also just like, okay, with this more politically correct type of type of like comedy, but we can still find comedy and sense of empowerment and still find
Mhm.
jokes within that. But then the out is that like anyone that makes jokes besides that is just like fucking idiots and da 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 da, you know. And now we're swapping again, where everything DEI is completely being
Mhm.
squashed down, and then jokes about marginalized people are now like we're going back in time in that sense.
And again.
And if yeah, and then if you like disagree, you know, we're kind of in a weird political climate now too. So like, you know, Voldemort can get named or can get by saying rape jokes, saying locker room talk jokes, saying
Mhm.
you know, making fun of people with disabilities and shit like that, but then he gets praised for it. And that's acceptable. And now that's acceptable and gives everyone the autonomy also in the comments to talk shit. But now it just got to the point where everyone is talking shit. Everyone is
Mhm.
talking crap in the comments on both sides.
Right. Right.
And it's like, and it's hard to like, how do we have these difficult conversations when the first thing we do are often like, I even see within our own science community, in our own SciComm community, like whenever we have a disagreement, we're like, they're fucking idiots, they're disappointments, they're like, it's a straight attack to to our identities or the
Right.
tribes that we correlate with. And we're not able to have like what is the middle ground and having these kind of tough conversations, even if
Yeah.
they are rooted in racism or misogyny or like, you know, like any of those things. If you're calling out a person that is doing something like that, I don't know. I'm trying to. It's just like, go
I
ahead.
hear you. I know what you're saying. I feel like we're like isolated into these spaces of I decided that you're evil, you decided that I'm evil. It's now okay for us to for any of our groups to talk about the other one as pure evil because in each of our in groups it's accepted and now we're just like outward talking about it versus and if you engage with that evil in any other sort of way in a dialogue then you're ostracized in other ways like, oh, I can't believe you're like complicit or anything like that. Versus you think of, like, I think of like I have a family member, but I remember since I was a kid, they were very anti a specific religion. And like, it's like a family member. Like, you see them and all of that. You have the choice to, like, you know, not having them be there. You have the choice to having them be there. And I remember very slowly, I kind of like introduced to them that, like, this person that you have known for years, who you love so much, is actually this religion. And very slowly, I've started seeing how this family member just put aside their prejudices and all of that through these like very small microdoses of like, hey, I'm just saying like this person and then this and then this person. And you actually like really love this person and this is what they're doing. And now they never talk shit about that religion. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
would this have ever happened if we were in those silos that I would shout at you, you would shout at me, and nothing would ever happen?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a theme that also came like in other episodes. We talked about like community and friendships and stuff. We're like, how can we have any sort of dialogue if we attack everything from comedy to posts to anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feels like, okay, like, you know, I don't know. Now I'm a little nervous that we might get canceled. Because it's just like,
I was nervous the whole time. Like, this is gonna be an
ah,
episode. I hope people don't
bec-
judge harshly.
yeah, because like even because again, I see it in all the comments and everything that I consume of just like we can't even listen to this thing or support this thing because they support this other thing or this they have this other opinion. And so it's just kind of like, as much as there's people in the other groups or outside groups that we can like, yeah, will make us like cringe and just like
Mhm.
rage bait us and make us angry, like we're just further, it feels like we're further perpetuating the problem and the
Right,
isolation
right.
and the lack of communication in a community within each other and not being able to reach across the aisle, but then get upset. They're like, they're not understanding, because it's like the second that they don't understand, they're like, they're idiots. They don't understand these things. They're this, they're that, you know? So as much
Yeah.
as like I fall victim to that as well,
Oh,
it's just
same.
like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. How do we use, yeah, I don't know. How do we, yeah, there's no way, there's no answer. These are just like questions that we're just
In a
posing.
selfish way, a very selfish way for a wrap up, maybe I'll ask the audience that as much as you might feel like you want to hate on us because we didn't communicate that right or we disagree with a lot of things that you think, have empathy for us and continue
Uh,
engaging with us. If you think we have opinions that you disagree with and you think it's worth engaging with us, please do. Like, in no shape or form, like, I think of like my opinions like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. There's so many things that I were like my deep opinions and now I cringe about. I'm sure there would be things that I would cringe about in a few years that I would say today. Um, so if you want to save us like cringeworthy moments in future, or if you want to keep engaging with us, like send something like empathetic, but also whatever is your opinion, and listen to this conversation with the best of, like knowing that we have the best of intentions.
yeah.
Does that make sense? What is your wish for our audience, for us, Stephanie?
Oh, if you want to talk some drama about what we talked about, join us on the podcast. Call us. Maybe we should have like a phone call where people can leave like voicemails.
Those
Um, yeah, I guess it's just like, yeah, again, I don't pose myself as like an expert in any of these things. I think it's just like as someone who's always constantly consuming and observing the behaviors that we partake in or see others partake in online, but then want to do work in these spaces. It's just like, okay, like, again, not thinking about the extremes, but at least most of us are just kind of like in the middle, just trying to figure shit out. So like, how do we
Right.
practice empathy within ourselves? And if we disagree, yeah, I guess like, yeah, have like, I'm always open to learning new things. I'm always collecting everyone's opinions. And then, yeah, just using that to kind of inform my own or to just be open-minded.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was not, yeah, we were supposed to talk about AI and this was not it.
No, I guess we'll do that another time. Especially like that disclaimer in the beginning, like just a disclaimer, we're gonna be talking about AI, but no.
Well, because sometimes I feel like we think about, yeah, I guess I was trying to like structure the episode in a way, but it was not structured. Just a loose thought.
It is what it is.
This is also kind of just like, does everyone need a podcast? Like maybe we don't need a podcast.
No, maybe honestly, if you think we need to get canceled after this, then
Yeah,
well,
exactly. Gonna be like, Steph is a what's his name? Dave Chappelle apologist. All right, Ray. I'll talk to you later.
okay, bye.